Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mardek, and last time we took out the world saviors, the most powerful opponents that we have faced yet. If you guys are having any issues taking those guys out, then I recommend that you take a little bit of time to level up, master some skills, pick up some new gear, and then once you do, you might find yourself moving on here and finding... Are you the missing shaman? That I am, dear.
What? She's a zombie!
How very observant of you, dear. Who did this to you? And is it curable? Curable? My dearie, why would I want to be cured of this dark gift? I've been granted extended powers of darkness and eternal life by the Dark Spectre, the Reaper, the Omega himself. With these powers, I am more powerful than I've ever been before. You're behind all the monsters acting up like they are, too, aren't you? The beasts of this region do my bidding, and are taking it for me. Too long have I merely protected this region. The Reaper convinced me that I could have so much more. I could be so much more. With ease, I can rule this land, and all will do my bidding for a change. All I had to do was tell the Reaper where he could claim the most souls. Well, you're mad! I am powerful, unstoppable, unkillable. My dark power can overwhelm and destroy you. You want to stop me, don't you? The Reaper told me to destroy all who would try to stop me. I must destroy you. And there you have it. Turns out, this shaman that we were coming over to rescue, yeah, she may or may not be a zombie that's trying to fight us. 1,500 HP, so she is certainly a powerful boss. And we'll see that she has 200% resistance, aka she heals a ton when we hit her with dark, because she is dark elemental. Also 100% resistance to earth elementals, so that means that we're not going to deal any damage to her of the earth variety. However, very weak to light and somewhat weak to fire. So let's see what we can do here. We do have Zach going first, followed by Emla, and then it'll be the shaman's turn. So we can theoretically get a few hits in here. However, I think that it probably does make sense for us to go berserk with Zach because, unlike before when we had the world saviors and there was some question as to, well, we don't know who Zach is going to target, is necessarily going to be the person that we wanted to go after first, maybe, maybe not. However, this time around, with only one target, we're pretty certain, of course, that he's going to be going after the shaman. So that risk is taken away. Granted, it does also make it so that he can't use any items, which is a little bit of a downside for sure. I think we established what it was, fire that she's weak to? Okay, so let's use flame in that case. And it can deal a pretty sizable amount of damage. However, what is this? Because we see the shaman just gained haste, which is that clock icon there, as well as a magic shield and a physical shield. Now, I think this is actually the first time we've seen a magical shield. We've seen the physical shields from the phages and the haste ability we saw earlier when we were fighting Furious, the bandit shield. So, that does mean that she's gonna have a lot more defenses now, gonna have both the magical damage and physical damage that we try to deal to her. And Mardek, at least at the moment, does not have anyone who he needs to heal. She has not attacked anyone yet. However, case could be made for putting up a magic shield. I honestly don't remember as to whether or not, or to what extent, she uses magical abilities. So, my hope is that, well, maybe that is relevant, maybe it isn't. We'll see. So here is... This is an odd one. So we're going to use Barrier Break against the Shaman. Remember, the Shaman does have 200% resistance, meaning she will heal when we hit her with a Dark Attack. So we actually don't want to deal much damage with this attack. We're just doing it to remove the physical barrier, so that in the long term we can deal more damage. So I'm deliberately going to miss our reaction here. Minimize the amount that we are killing her. And there you see she does deal, at least in part, attack damage. Granted, that was Dark Elemental there. Zach took the hit. And one of those hits, not too bad. Multiple of those hits in quick succession, and people might be in trouble. Now, as you can see there, roughly 100 damage, potentially a little bit less. Now, as you saw a minute ago, we did remove her physical shield. However, she does still have the magical shield up because the barrier break ability that Dugan used only removes the physical shield. So that does mean that Emla's attacks will continue to do half damage against her, unfortunately. However, physical attacks for melee characters will do full damage, fortunately. So there is that aspect. Now, however, people have definitely started to get hurt. And who ought we prioritize here? This is a little bit different. Last time against the World Saviors, we were talking about how Emla was a very key figure for us in that fight because we knew that she was going to be our primary source of offense as one of the only people who could deal certain types of elemental damage. However, this go-round, with the Shaman having magical shield and not a physical shield, that means that Emla is not quite as useful as she was earlier. Granted, she does have access to using fire, which the Shaman does have some weakness to, so that is still helpful. However, I think that Zac will actually be a little more helpful here. I'm gonna go with the full party heal, but I was thinking about maybe opting to go just Zac to make sure that we got him up to full HP, because there you saw we did not fully heal Zac, or Emla for that matter, so they are... If that continues to happen, they will become a little bit vulnerable there. So this time around, we don't have to use Barrier Break. Gotten the benefit out of that. Earth Slash also will not deal any damage. I mean, it won't heal her, unlike Barrier Break, but we saw that Shaman has 100% Earth resistance, so that's not any good for us. Power Attack, you could make a case for that. It's mostly Power Attack versus Normal Attack. Are we opting for the higher risk, higher return route of using Power Attack, or are we looking for a safer bet on the Normal Attack? Let's go for Power Attack first. We do manage to land it, so that will likely be one of, if not our best, sources of offense there. Zac does, of course, have the double damage because he is Berserk. However, the Shaman has a little bit of air resistance. So if we land our Soul Strike ability, which I suppose that is one of our offensive reactions, theoretically we could have deliberately unallocated that in anticipation of this fight. However, we clearly did not. So you could make a case for deliberately not hitting Zac's offensive reactions so that they don't go air elemental, in which case they'd just be physical. Then she would have no specific resistances or weaknesses to it, which would be 20 better for us than having 20 air resistance. But he does have other offensive reactions as well, so for that reason we probably do want to continue to try to hit those reactions. And here we see she's gone after Zac on a couple of occasions here, so we definitely want to heal him. Get him up to full that time, okay. So you'd like to see that. We'll go for the power attack, and we hope this lands. It does, because that has been pretty huge for us. And there you have, yes, absolutely, she does have an offensive spell. Almost caught me sleeping there with Zac. You saw that, except you absolutely did that time. There you see how much of a difference it makes when you do not hit the defensive reactions. So we saw that Emla did have the magic shield and therefore took less damage from that spell. However, she did get paralyzed, which means that she, I don't remember if it's absolutely every turn will get skipped or if there's a certain percentage chance that her turn will get skipped. Let's take a look at Remove Taint. Is paralysis one of the things we can remove? It is not. Let's take a look in that case at some of our items here to see if we might have a way to get rid of it. I believe it is a motion potion that we'd be looking for, and I don't see one. Unless we do have a remedy which removes all status effects. Is that strictly necessary at this point? The Shaman is pretty low. I think we definitely want to prioritize healing Zac here. Again, like we were talking about earlier, Zac might be a little bit more beneficial than Emla in this fight. So we want to make sure that he stays alive and kicking. And the Shaman will go next after Dugan. Try to continue to test our luck with power attack. It has been very successful thus far, and it continues to be. There he is, the Dark Storm ability again. You see Emla taking only 23 damage, so no big deal when she does have that ability on. And there you have it. Zac critting to take her out, finishing things off in style. And masters his defensive reaction The one that I missed on one occasion there. Almost proving to be a significant miss at that, but no! That'll show you for learning to teach metal with me. Us. Yeah. I think I may have dire news.
What?
The Reaper that shaman spoke of. The personification of death on this world is a dark, cloaked figure that wields a scythe, correct? It's called the Ever Reaper, or just the Reaper, and the shaman said that she was contacted by this Reaper personally. Now, you could dismiss this as madness, but I don't believe that to be so. I believe it to be much worse, and I believe the zombified state of the woman made this clear. I believe that the Reaper she referred to was one of my race, my order, one of the Anukai, the governance to Magi. So, my suspicions from earlier proved true. This is most unfortunate. Because they're out to kill you? Yes, most certainly. And this threatens us both. But I'm afraid that the governance to Magi would never stop at just that. From the look of it, they've sent Mardek, the necromancer, and the violet crystal seemed to affect him majorly. It made him covetous of power, and it wouldn't at all surprise me if he's using this little mission to gain some of it. Your world of Belthan is weak compared to the power he already wields. He could feasibly conquer it quicker than you'd like to believe, and he would too. Seems he's trying to, actually. I'd guess that he asked the shaman about the nearest populated place, so he could go there and raise as many undead servants as possible. He zombified the shaman, so he could essentially use her to control this area. Probably. Mardek is predictable. But what are we supposed to do? I'm pretty certain that Mardek would have gone to Gosnor, from the sound of it, and this is bad. Very bad. He didn't seem to be there when we last were, but chances are he is by now. We need to head there, and fast. Well, let's stop delaying and go now, then. Yes, come on, to Gosnor. Wait, who was just talking then? That didn't sound like Mardek. We can explain all that later. For now, we need to go to Gosnor. And try as the game might to encourage us to go there, that we will not. Shaman down, yes. And save game we shall. However, as you may remember me saying earlier, back when we were fighting, or after fighting, the Bandit Chief, that one of the most significant things that you can do, one of the biggest recommendations that I can give you if you're playing along with us, is every time you take down a boss, always go back to the boss arena. And this is possibly the most significant instance of when that is going to be significant. Oh my goodness, Zach. Wow. That is a lot of damage. So we'll head back there, and well, hopefully we'll find that things are a little more straightforward going that route this time. These balloons, they don't mean much compared to the enemies that we've been fighting recently. We have leveled up a little bit since then. And remind me, I think it's left? No, it's right. Good thing I double-checked. So we'll head back up. And we will, I suppose we'll continue to fight the enemies that we find along here, so it'll be another opportunity for us to continue to level up. Continue to level up, continue to gain some masteries on some of our abilities. And this Green Mantid is rather strong. Let's see what we can do here. Fortunately, just one of them, and fortunately, Evla can hit pretty hard herself. We get a Mantid Wing, no less. Okay, and we did get someone else to level. I think it was Zach. And did we establish that it is level 10 once they start to get additional RP? I think it's every, I want to say 4 levels they get a new RP. Or an additional RP, I should say. So that would mean 10, 14, 18, so on and so forth. Assuming that is correct, then that would suggest that we do not need to swap anything over or add anything from a skill standpoint on Zack. However, I do think we have mastered some things. I remember Zach had that defensive reaction, so it might still be worth taking another look in a bit to see if there is anything else that we would like to put on. And here we will see that Zach will do precisely nothing. However, Emla proved quite a bit more effective, and there is Mardek's level, making it up to 10. So now he should have access to another reaction point. And we know that that may be something that proves helpful. Like here, we can have the minus 10% damage on the physical reaction. And on the passive side of things, does he need to have the +1 agility? Would he rather have something like NP or Insomnia? I think probably yes. So this will give him immunity to poison, this will give him immunity to sleep. I think keeping Mardek up as often as possible is very important, as we saw a little bit in, I forget if it was the World Saviors, right? Not in the Shaman fight, but the World Saviors fight. We saw him go down, and that is always a concern, because, well, he's down, there goes our primary source of healing. And Zach was the other person we were talking about. He may have mastered some of his defensive abilities, but he's still working on 10 damage soak. Offensively, he's done everything. And there you saw, Soul Strike is what is making his physical attacks go from physical elemental to instead air elemental, and that's what I was saying we could have potentially deliberately unallocated for that Shaman fight. Would have been a little bit more effective if we had thought of that in advance. Didn't prove to be necessary, but if you find yourself trying to fight the Shaman and you're having trouble, that might be a way to mix things up a little bit. So I want to take another look, however, at whether or not there might be another chest plate, say, that Zach could use, because at the moment, he has fully mastered Copper Breastplate skill. And we could actually throw on... Oh, my mistake. My mistake. I believe earlier I had said that other characters can use the robes. Apparently that's not the case. I misremembered. So that does mean that getting those magic defenses on people other than Emla will prove quite difficult. And that may also mean we don't have many alternatives for Zach, unless he also needs the chainmail. However, I think this is the same defensive reaction that he has already mastered from the Copper Breastplate, and the Copper Breastplate is 3 defense versus the chainmail's 2. We ought to take that instead. So let's carry on, and remind me again, we are going for... not there, but rather here. Took me a minute to see which of those indicators was us. Should know that. But I was looking in the wrong place. Here we are, though. Heading on up, and that was where Trilobite Key was. See, Crystal, and World Saviors, not this time. However... Maybe? No, not actually. We'll take down the phages, or at least try to, if we can. Deliberately go for the... Whoa! Physical attack on Emla, because the magic attack isn't going to do too much, and with that crit, that was actually way more damage than I was expecting her to deal. Potentially even more than Mardek could deal. Now we could barrier break here, and I suppose, why not? I'm going to deliberately go for the one that has low-ish HP. And instead, with Mardek and Zach, try to get a little bit clever here. See if we have enough damage to take these guys out like this. Certainly do if Zach crits. Now, I mean, if Emla wants to repeat what she did before, then that might be a way to... Well, okay, I was kind of kidding, but except maybe not. Barrier break again. And that should open things up for Mardek, possibly to finish things off here. That it does. Okay. So no, not another round of the World Saviors. So that's what I mean when I say not going to be as difficult this time around. So if you're concerned about, well, but that was a difficult fight, I don't want to have to do that again. Don't worry, you don't. Here we find we are already making it back to where the Shaman once was, and will we find the Shaman here? No, we won't. And you say, Lids, well, there's nothing here. Why did you have us go back? not so fast. Another instance of a time when it is important for us to check the map to see if there is a chest here, because we see 0 out of 1, there is a chest here, and we've not yet taken it. It is directly in front of us. It isn't this star here, which again I was asking you guys to take note of earlier. There is one here, so remember that. But also, this has what, for my money, could very well be the best item in Chapter 2. The Geo Jacket, an earthy green jacket imbued with powers of nature. Though it offers nothing in the way of physical or magical defense, it allows the wearer to absorb a percentage of any earth damage inflicted to them as HP. It increases max HP as a bonus too. So if we take a look at that, we will find, I believe we put it on Dugan, or at least put it in his inventory, that it is a light armor, meaning that anyone can equip it, including Emla. And from a properties standpoint, it has 1 vitality, which is the stat, the major attribute that gives a little bit more life, in addition to 20 HP on top of that, and absorb Earth 20%. And by absorb, it means it's actually 120%. So you are healing from Earth damage. So let me give you an example here. Let's throw it on Zach, because we were talking earlier about how Zach does not currently have any skills on his chest plate that we currently need. Resist Earth. You can allocate that, or actually, does not can have enough RP to do that. He will after his next level. However, if we look, actually, I don't remember. Can we find the resistances? We can. Okay. So here, I suppose we could go through these screens here, but we've definitely seen this before. This is the general overview of HP, MP, the percentage of experience they have toward their next level, character's element, so light, earth, water, air, and the aspects that we have not yet looked at, the attributes. So we have seen this when we've clicked on their names during an actual fight. However, we can see it in a more readily accessible state here. We don't need to be in combat to see it. Here you can see the further proof that, yes, Zack is certainly our fastest character, and Emla not very far behind. However, what I want to see this time around is another thing that is, again, also available when we're actually in the middle of the fight. But what I meant to say earlier was that it's not just 20% resistance, it is 120% earth resistance when you're using the Geo Jacket. You don't just not take damage, you actually heal for 20% damage. And furthermore, we go to the skills, it gives a passive skill to increase earth resistance by another 50%, which would bump Zack up from 120% resistance to 170% resistance, which is insanely good. Remember, as well, that if you master that skill, you don't need to be wearing the item in order to use it. So that is a perfect instance of when, ideally, we would have everyone take a turn using the Geo Jacket, master this ability, and have permanent access to 50% Earth resistance. Granted, as we saw earlier with Zack, it does cost 8 RP, which is a lot. So it does mean that if we are using that ability, it's going to be difficult to squeeze other things on as well, unless we're willing to make that type of sacrifice, or we level up our characters significantly and continue to accumulate more RP. But anyways, I think that's going to be it for this time round, because we did, of course, take out the Shaman, and like I was saying before, always worthwhile to go back, double check what you might find in terms of bonus loot. And so with that, I'll catch you guys next time.